All right. Okay. So this is like I said, this is an important time in our lives. There's a lot of new things happening and changing and shifting. And mainly, no matter where you are in this journey, and I'll get into defining what it all looks like in a second, but we are in a new stage of life. And when we're in a new stage of life, we really have to do things differently. So what used to work, right? The exercise, the foods we eat, all these things, unfortunately, shift and change. And it's not just the way we exercise and what we eat, but it is so much bigger than that. It's the way we sleep. It's how we manage our stress. And it's also how we show up in the world and who we show up around and how we're seen and heard at this time and space in our lives. You know, unfortunately, as a gender, we start to lose that sense of importance in the overall bigger picture, right? We're no longer bringing children into the world. We start to age, we start to look different, we start, and you see in the world, it's not as celebrated. Men get older, they get more distinguished, women get older, and but the tide is turning. That's the good news. We are starting to have a voice. Menopause has a voice. And really, it's important for each one of us to show up in the world and be who we are at this time in our lives and really make the most. And Mark Hyman, one of my favorite, he was one of my teachers, and he says, the goal is not to necessarily have more, time of life, but have to have more life in our time, to really live and thrive and make the most of this time. So that is really what I teach. Not just about what we eat. It's also our relationship with food. It's why we eat the way we eat, how we eat, when we eat, all these things around our relationship with food. And so the 5 pillars, I'm going to run through them. We've got, of course, nutrition, and I really get deep into what we eat, when we eat, and how we eat. And this is all built around our body's stress response, right? We know that as we go through menopause and leading up to, right, the hormones are very, kind of erratic. Hormones like, we know progesterone is the first kind of to decline. And that's really the hormone that gives us that calming sense, that easy goes, that stress stabilizer, if you will. That gives us that that kind of more of that parasympathetic response in the body, right? Which is that rest and digest, versus once we lose that, we come more into that sympathetic nervous system, which is like fight, flight, freeze, fawn, like go, take care of, do for others, show up. So that is the number one. And following soon behind is estrogen. And estrogen, if we only could have, known everything it was doing for us. It's like the energy hormone, the metabolic hormone. It helped us with digestion. So many women deal with more gut issues, gas, bloating, constipation, so common once we go through menopause, because things are just not moving as efficiently through the body. And digestion is everything. We talk a lot about gut health. We talk about brain health, right? Estrogen, again, fuels the brain fog, loss of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone is another one, right? That muscle loss leading to more fat gain, especially around the middle. We just aren't as able to metabolize food as we used to be. So we have to do it differently. Nutrition, I'm not going to do this long of a description of every one, but we've got sleep, I put that right up there because without sleep, right, all the other hormones can get out of whack, cortisol, melatonin. We need to work with that circadian rhythm. I focus a lot on this. How do we work in that sleep wake cycle? And what are the little tiny habits that we need to start to put in place to help us sleep better? And it really starts with when we wake up, right? What are we doing first thing in the morning? Are we getting that morning light, right? So these are the kinds of things that, in the program that I focus on helping you stack in, not adding a whole bunch of time consuming things, but more these tiny little habits that you can just stack on top of things you're already doing, but that can make an amazing difference in things like sleep. And we'll get a little more into the sleep. Number 3, movement and exercise. Very, very important. Not too much, not too little, just right. That Goldilocks principle. We can't be doing these hard, stress all the time things. They just don't serve us like they used to. I am a, 2-time Ironman. I can tell you, I've done all the stuff. I'm a strength coach, conditioning coach. I mean, this was what I was doing, and it literally killed me when I was in perimenopause. I had my estrogen was, not there, out of whack for sure. And things were not going well. Plus, I was overstressing with too much exercise, not the right kind, without knowing where I was. And it did literally kill me. I wrote a book about that. And I know if you went to the leadership conference, you heard all about it. That's a whole nother story. I'm not going to get into that tonight. That is that is my main reason for doing what I do today, is educating women in this space that we have to take care of our bodies and our minds differently. Period. Exclamation point. And all of it. I feel very passionate about this. So movement, important, really important. I'm a big fan of walking and strength training and some zone 2 cardio in there. To quote Celine, and we got to lift heavy shit. And I talk about this, I share it in my talks. We have to be doing these things to promote longevity and healthy, health moving forward through this transition. Number 4 is going to be stress management. And through the program, this is something I focus very heavily on because it affects every system in the body, from the digestive system, the brain, huge. We do a lot of work on brain health in this program. This is really imperative that we do the things today so we don't end up with Alzheimer's, dementia, and the like, especially if you are genetically predisposed. Women are much more likely than men to have dementia and Alzheimer's. Again, these hormones that served us for so long are no longer available for us. You can do hormone replacement. I'm not going to get into that today. But if you find you got to keep upping it and upping it and upping it, we have to do the other things at the baseline, no matter what you're taking. I think they can be extremely helpful for women if that's your choice. I definitely believe in them, but we cannot say, I'm just going to do this and leave all this. And I'm sure you know that because you're here. And so the 5th thing is really important. This is community. This is being in a space where you're seen, you're heard, especially in menopause. It's not a bad word, right? It's not something to hide behind. It's something to empower us. It's to give us that kind of forward motion, not to sit on the sidelines and wait for, disease or something the unfortunate, or just, we can make this time of our lives pretty amazing. We just have to kind of commit to doing some things differently. And that's where I help. And it's not like an overhaul, right? We're not going to say, okay, all of a sudden you have to do all these things. So tonight, what I want to help you do is one thing. Like, I'm going to say, if you can take one thing from this class tonight and start doing that one thing this week, or when you leave, that to me is huge. Because that's how we make progress. It isn't an overhaul. It isn't by me saying, okay, eat all these things, do all these workouts. It might even be doing a little less. And this is where it comes into, it's not just community. And then really the overriding piece of this that I feel is so important is individuality, bio-individuality. This is not a one size fits all. We can't say, I'm going to go through these slides and, a few of them. And, not everybody feels this, not everybody has this, but there's still things we need to be aware of and do what we can to prevent them no matter where we are, and we may need to focus in on a couple of very specific things that you are struggling with. And then we have to work with your body and your schedule and your life to make it work for you. Because if I just said, here you go do this, all of it, I don't know where you're at, what your focus of moving forward is. Where are you at in your life? What is it you need? And that's really important, because we're all unique. Even though we might be going through a lot of the same things, we are still going through things differently. So those are the 5 pillars, just to recap, right? We know nutrition, sleep, movement, exercise. Those go together. Stress management, huge. These are all equal up here, right? And community. And then individuality, bio-individuality in there. That's really, really critical to your progress on the journey, not a destination necessarily. This isn't a diet. We're not going to go on this diet and then be good to go. It's a journey. It's a lifestyle. We develop one step at a time in order to show up in our life. All right. So I'm just going to run through these slides. Let's see how we're doing on time. Oh boy. Okay, here we go. Well, we did start a few minutes late, so I'm going to just run through what is menopause, the 3 stages. So we know it's a healthy part of life. It isn't something that some people get, some people don't. We all go through it. It's inevitable. Symptoms are a result of decreased production of estrogen, progesterone in your ovaries. And we know they can include hot flashes, weight gain, vaginal dryness, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll go through a few of these. So this is the, where it gets kind of like, well, I'm in menopause, I'm out of menopause, I don't know. So perimenopause is anywhere from 4 to 12 years, and give or take, leading up to menopause. And they're just when your symptoms, you might start with like your period was always 28 days, and then all of a sudden it's maybe 27 days. Well, that's a start. The mood swings, things like this happening. You used to have PMS for, maybe you had PMS for 3 days before, now it turns into a week. And, just wait, because menopause, when you're in that transition, it's every day. So yeah, we call it reverse puberty too, because it's like everything that we remember when we came into puberty, our body was changing, things were happening. You might have had some, food was becoming kind of maybe even a little bit of the enemy, because we're like, I got to lose weight, I'm gaining weight. We go through that again on the other side of it, right? And so just so you're aware, these are like some of the changes that feel out of control. And the good news at this stage in life is we do hit kind of that steady state, if you will. And that's where, we have to work within the perimenopause space, definitely. And then menopause gives us we're then at the low end, right? We're kind of back to base, a new baseline. And that's the point. It's a new baseline that we have to work within. And so menopause is one day. It's that one day, 12 months after we have our last period. And that's when you begin menopause. And, there's different, some people have hysterectomies. Women are, surgically, they can start menopause at different times. A lot of women who have a hysterectomy may have a second menopause, and other women who have been through menopause actually have a second menopause as well. Fun times, I know. So post-menopause is the rest of our life. It never stops. So we're always post-menopausal. So some women will say to me, oh, I'm through that. Well, not really, because we're always going to be dealing with those low levels. That doesn't go away. Okay, so that's just something to, fun fact. And then these are the, and again, there's so many more. I have a list. I mean, there's a lot that can happen, and I hear them more and more. I've heard of, anemia. I've experienced that one. Definitely, skin rashes, hair loss, migraine headaches. I mean, the list goes on, and vertigo is another one. I'm just running through some of the random ones that clients of mine have been on, and we've been able to kind of help through with some of this. So here's a list. Joint pain, you guys have mentioned that. Hot flashes, weight gain is a biggie. That's what most women, I will say, come in really struggling with, and that's what happened. I feel like I'm doing all the things, or I'm trying to, or I'm not, because I'm not motivated. How do I get back on? So I'm not going to run through all of these. I just want you to kind of, estrogen, balance. I'm going to run through some dietary recommendations because we've lost it, right? So what are some of the things we can do here? And some of these, may just be like, oh, okay, no kidding. I knew that was good for me. And this is another thing, though, that I really highlight here is, I go into bio-individuality. So when a woman comes into my program, we do a one-on-one session, and I look at blood type. I look at Ayurvedic body typing. I do look at metabolic typing, and I look at this all in the menopause scope. So it's kind of this holistic protocol that I kind of come through, and we identify, and then we come in and we make these dietary recommendations. So in general, this is okay. So I just want to preface that, all that stuff is done through the coaching, but cruciferous vegetables generally really good at clearing the bad estrogens, right? Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. Okay. The reason I said that before that, because I have women who come in, they're like, I get really gassy when well, that has to do, I'll go in and I'll be like, all right, well, what's your blood type? Well, it's, oh, okay, well, let's look at shifting some of those foods over here, and voila, right? So it isn't just one thing. But soy is another real controversy, right? For some women that works. For other women, it doesn't work. No matter what, if you're going to implement soy into your diet, you want to make sure it's one ingredient, right? You don't want, let's say, soy protein isolate is an additive to a lot of products. That is in a whole food, right? We want to stay as close as we can to the whole foods. Vitex is an urban supplement that you may have heard of that can help with estrogen balance. And then, of course, lifestyle modifications. This is something we don't think as much about, and it's so prevalent in our, in our life, right? Plastics. Yeah, I mean, water bottles. If you drink out of plastic water bottles, we know that these contain endocrine disruptors. The products you put on your skin. Yeah, you mentioned yoga, being in yoga. And I think so many times I hear these things and I'm like, no, they have the sense. Like if you go with a general product line that is scented, and I'm not talking with essential oils. There are product lines that are great that are scent, things like Native or, Cetaphil. There's a couple of them that are just I'm not thinking of, but these kinds of products are good because why? They don't have all the parabens, the additives, these endocrine disruptors. We don't think about it, but our skin is the largest organ in our body. So what we put on our skin is really almost as important, if not the same, as what we're ingesting. So you really want to watch out for chemical toxins that are in the cosmetics you put on your skin. Go with natural, go with organic. There's companies out there now, Beauty Counter, there's Thrive, there's different, product lines that are more, whole-based. Or, I think of like coconut oil. Use coconut oil. It's a great lubricant for everything. And it's one ingredient. It, cheap, and it really can help with, your skin and, not leaving it. It is a natural product. So, and then, we talk, this is where weight comes in, right? Estrogen is really the driver for our challenges with weight. And I always think about the tools and that we use to work through this space as levers. Like some of the levers, estrogen is going to drop. Fair. So what is it we need to work with in order to work with that drop in estrogen? And that is really the magic sauce here. So it isn't just about the food. It's about what the food does for us or against us. And this is what I teach in the program. So we look at blood sugar regulation, insulin resistance, right? Because most of us at this stage in our life, unfortunately, due to, again, the drop of an estrogen, are dealing with some kind of inflammatory response, weight gain, inflammation, right? Autoimmune inflammation, joint pain, inflammation, hot flashes, you name it. It's all based on our inflammatory response. Chronic. We want acute. If you break your ankle or you have surgery, you want that immediate response to that, right? But the problem is when it becomes chronic. And again, remember I talked about progesterone, that kind of calming, relaxing, that also helped relieve that inflammation. So this is what we do with food now. Food becomes the medicine that helps calm the inflammation, that helps also deal with some of this insulin resistance or blood sugar dysregulation, which is really behind the scenes. So I think of the levers, we work on managing blood sugar. Insulin resistance is the product of that. That is causing a lot of these inflammatory responses. So we look at all this. Okay. Not tonight, but I just want you to be in the know of what's driving this, what's going on. Okay. And we're going to get to the fun stuff. What do we need to be putting in? We'll get in as much as we can, but this is what I wanted to talk about because this can be the driver of every symptom, right? As I mentioned in the beginning, it's that progesterone, estrogen on the decline, causing us to store more fat. That the food that we eat, that we consume, is not as readily available for energy. Because of that, it gets stored quickly. And so you can do all the exercise till the cows come home. But if you're not eating in a way that is going to serve your body in this time and space, it will get stored and it'll have that kind of cascading effect with sleep and everything else, gut, brain health, all inflammation. Inflammation equals disease, maybe not right now, but down the road. And all of them. So we really have to get a handle on this. And that's what I focus a lot on. So hot flashes, joint pain, right? Low libido. This is another one that, we don't talk a lot about, but it is very real at when we're going through this stage in life. And I'm going to go back to that one. There's joint pain. Sorry. I don't know where that one. Oh, there we go. Okay. And so again, based on your bioindividuality and what's going on, we work with this. There are things you can do. There are actually foods you can eat that can actually help, believe it or not. So we want to just be aware. And, there are supplements that I do recommend. I'm not tonight. I don't think it's a good idea for me to say, go take ashwagandha and you're off to the races, because to me, it has to start with food. Then we start to look at supplements. I do make recommendations, and there are some guidelines that I follow. And it's also, again, so individual based on your symptoms. So individual based on your symptoms. We don't want to just throw, I take supplements, yes. And do they help? Yes. Sleep, to me, there are a few things that I will take, and super important for a good night's sleep. And they can be a game changer. But for sleep, crowding out sugar, limiting alcohol, right? Caffeine. Doing this all together, especially though in the afternoon, it can really wreak havoc on our sleep. And we know our sleep drives everything else the next day. Okay. So this is really, really important. There are some herbs and supplements, here, my favorite actually that isn't on this list that I'll just tell you is magnesium. And I have certain brands I like, and certain, and again, I will go directly individually to the women I'm working with, depending on their symptoms, because different strains are good for constipation, for sleep issues, for brain fog. There are very different, but it's not hard if it's just communicating what's going on, and then we can kind of dial in what's going to work for you. But these are some good ones for sleep right here. That's why I stopped on this one. Ban electronics, create bedtime routine, limit exposure to blue light. I'm wearing blue light blocking glasses. So if you're on your computer at night, good idea to wear that, or watching a show. And then practice restorative yoga or stretching before bedtime. Can be amazing. I'll add in there, I love doing a warm bath with Epsom salt. Also, keep your room cool, right? Having a cool room can really aid in a good night's sleep. Too hot, and it really can raise our heart rate, which is going to affect REM sleep, as well as HRV, which are two pretty important measures as far as sleep goes. So sleep, super important. Mood swings, a lot of us, this is tricky. Again, the estrogen, progesterone, we talk a little bit, I mentioned about the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic nervous system. And when we're always in that go, 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 it can really, it's not even just that. We can just be in that fight or flight or freeze. And again, that affects our stress response, which affects our mood, which affects, everything around us. So if you're kind of noticing you're that quick to react, quick to respond, or maybe going into a little bit more of a, depression more frequently, this is pretty common. So we work with, I call them good mood food. We talk about all this. This is real. These are things we have to talk about in this space and time. And food can help, as well as lifestyle modifications. Vaginal dryness, this is another one that a lot of women suffer from. And, the number one thing here I would say is to drink water. Water. And not only water, I also am a fan of adding in an electrolyte supplement, because again, we're not absorbing, and water isn't, it's harder for the body to actually keep it and use it. So we might need a little electrolyte supplement in there. I'm a big fan of LMNT. So that is just another little aside. I'll give you that brand I like, but I have other ones too, that I also recommend. Lots of good recommendations. So osteoporosis, this is another thing we really have to watch out for. I love strength training for this. Again, limit alcohol, that can really take a toll, sugar, and then adding in those cruciferous vegetables, calcium supplements, good with magnesium and vitamin D. D3. You want to get that combination in there. Again, we're concerned with absorption. We don't want to just be taking these supplements that are not doing anything, right? So we have to work on what do we need to do for better absorption, okay? Here we are at the end. I know I'm a little over, so let's get through this section. Okay, let me see. Whoops, let me go back. Sorry. Okay, the top one. Okay, let's start up there. Be cautious of gluten. We know the body cannot metabolize gluten. So these are really your go-to things I want you to take away today. The gluten is not our friend any longer. I'm sorry, ladies. And it kind of stinks because who doesn't love a good piece of pizza? But the good news is lots of gluten-free varieties out there, thank goodness today. So we can, we can enjoy that. I always say, unless you're going to Italy and then go at it, because the way the food is made over there is a lot different than what we have here. But celiac disease, as well as gluten intolerance, very common in menopause, and really can worsen the symptoms. Phytoestrogens, these are mimicking estrogens and actually have the opposite effect of estrogens. So processed foods, processed soy foods, all these ingredients right here, soybean oil, modified soy, and soy lecithin. Stay away. Keep an eye on those products, those ingredients rather, in the products you consume, and as well as put on your body. So check both of those out, all labels. But we know whole soy can be beneficial. Consume good mood foods. Here we go. So we know omega-3s, salmon, sardines, tuna, walnuts are great. Flax, we want to get that fiber in there. Really important. I'll get into that a little bit more down here. But I don't mind supplementing with omega-3s. I think that can be beneficial, especially if you're not eating salmon every day. Vitamin B, the B vitamin group, is also another really good way to go. Lean meats, eggs, yogurt, leafy green. I do discuss dairy in menopause as well. So many of us also cannot tolerate dairy any longer. Unfortunately, it can be very inflammatory for most of us. Abundance of calcium-rich foods, almonds, broccoli, kelp is great, leafy greens, oranges, sardines, sweet potatoes, love. Vitamin D for absorption, really important, right? Because again, remember, we're talking about absorption. We got to get this tied in together, not just let it, move on through without helping us out. Limit caffeine. Sleep is so affected. My rule of thumb is after 12 p.m. No more caffeine. It stays in our body for up to 12 hours, right? And remember, we're dealing with things being a little slower. So that again works against us. So just be cautious of that. Whoops, sorry about that. It's very, okay. I am having trouble clearly here. There we go. Abundance of calcium-rich foods, osteoporosis, again, the risk increases. So we're going to keep almonds, broccoli. I already said all that, didn't I? Yes, I did. So repeat there. That's how important it is. Caffeine, we talked about. Load up on veggies, right? As we know, things slow down because of estrogen not being as bioavailable for us. So fiber, really important. I talk a lot about protein, fat, and fiber. That combination in its healthiest forms are really important for our health. And let's see, vitamins and minerals. Yep, help maintain hormone balance. So eat them in the whole food source. That's really critical, right? We want to really get that whole food source of those vitamins and minerals. Supercharge the diet. Flax seeds can reduce hot flashes. Maca can also help. So those are two things right there. Maybe if you're thinking of what am I going to start to implement, I would say if you're not doing flax seeds, I would add them in a smoothie, sprinkle them on your salads, etc. In your smoothie, salads. Same with the maca. two things that can be really beneficial. Maybe you add one of these back in. Make sure your flax seeds are not ground ahead of time. You want to make sure you buy them in their whole form, flax seeds, and then grind them on your own. You can use an old coffee grinder that works, or just throw them in your smoothie and your Vitamix or whatever, NutriBullet. Saint Maca comes as a powder, very helpful in balancing or sex hormones, which we know are very out of whack, especially in perimenopause and menopause. So you can add that in, can be help libido. And pomegranate juice might help reduce hot flashes. There, I would say check up with your doctor on this, because it can interfere with some medications. The other thing with pomegranates is you got to do a heck of a lot. So you might want to do like a concentrated shot juice of it. If you're struggling, I would, take these one at a time, but they help more than just hot flashes. We know we want to get, we want to support those sex hormones that are really non-existent for us. So doing all these things can be pretty cool and amazing. Let me go ahead and put you guys back up, and I am going to stop the share. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So now I want to just go in and explain to you a little bit about just the next step, because I don't want to take too much time. I really want to end here in a couple of minutes because I'm already over. And really, I'll leave it at this. If you feel like, you're ready to commit to understanding what's going on and find real solutions to help you at this stage in your life, I do have a program that I'm offering, and we're starting Monday evenings, and we meet as a group, as a community, and I really focus on those 5 pillars, and I go through each of the different lessons in depth. So it's not as much, I talk about the symptoms, but it's a lot more in solution with using the 5 pillars that I discussed. So we go into gut health, we go into brain health, insulin resistance, inflammation. We do a little bit on fasting, macros that are, division, a lot of, just that bio-individuality. We start with an individual coaching session where we dial in your kind of protocol to help you move through this time and space. So I'm here for you. It's kind of over the 12, it's a 12-week program, and really text is available to me directly. I say 9 to 5, but I'll tell you what, I'm also available on weekends. And sometimes I do get texts in the, after hours, but I'll do the best I can to get back to you. I do that. I enjoy it. I want to be there for you to help you through this time. So, and you get a whole private Google Drive that has every lesson. So there's 12 lessons recorded. There are PDFs, recipes, everything in there you could want. I tend to suggest you don't go through all the whole thing, right? Because we go through each lesson, we do a recap each week. So, you can go there and you don't need to go there. Really, the key is showing up once a week. And again, I can go more in depth on this on a call so that we can figure out if this is a good next step for you. And so I will go ahead and do a follow-up with you, with each of you, just to kind of, I'll send you my calendar. You can see if this is something you want to hear more about. We would just hop on a call and then determine if this is a good next step for you. So, but it's helped a lot of women in this space who have tried a lot of different things. And I think it's the individual coaching as well as the community support. And then not just looking at it like a diet, and more of a lifestyle, and really just habit changing and a mindset shift around this time and space that we start to embrace. And, like one woman just the other night, she was in her 6th week, and she came on and just said, "I'm just so glad I am feeling better." and to me, that's the goal, is to feel better in our body, in our mind. We're not so flustered, or whatever symptoms it is, we're losing the weight, we're feeling better, we're having more energy, we're able to focus, we're not in the fog, so this is where we want to be, and it's totally possible. So we'll do that. And then I just want to go ahead and now, so like I said, I will follow up with an email and invite you to sign up for a, just probably like a 30-minute, let's check it out, up to 30 minutes, see if that's what you want to do. And then we'll go from there. So, all right, I'm going to open it up as my dog starts to bark. I'm going to offer you a few minutes for questions, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. So I hope you found that helpful. I'm going to go ahead and stop the